Welcome to my channel. My name is Alex Harper, and for the last 3 years I've been the lead graphic designer at Vanguard Creative, a mid-sized ad agency in downtown Chicago. I'm 29, single in every official record, and I live in a one-bedroom loft on the 23rd floor of a converted warehouse in the West Loop. The brick walls, the exposed pipes, the floor-to-ceiling windows that look out over the L train snaking between skyscrapers. Everything about the place screams young professional on the rise. That's the version of me the world sees. The version that clocks in at 8:45 a.m. sharp, hoodie optional, sneakers mandatory, always carrying a triple-shot espresso and a laptop plastered with indie band stickers. But there's another version. The one that waits until the dead of night, when the city quiets to a murmur and the only light comes from the soft glow of a vanity mirror I keep hidden behind a false panel in my walk-in closet. That version has a name too, Alexa. And Alexa has been my secret for 8 years. It started in college, junior year, the night before Halloween. My roommate bailed on a couple's costume and left me with a spare wig and a thrift store dress. I put them on as a joke, fully intending to laugh it off with the guys. But the second the fabric settled over my shoulders and the wig brushed my neck, something electric snapped inside my chest. Not arousal, though that was there, but recognition. Like I'd slipped into a skin I didn't know I'd been missing. I never told anyone. I boxed the dress up, buried it in the back of my closet, and tried to forget. I couldn't. Over the years, the collection grew. A silk blouse here, a pair of patent heels there, makeup ordered under burner accounts and delivered to a locker at the gym. I kept it compartmentalized: work Alex, gym Alex, family Alex, and then, in the safest 2 hours between midnight and the first bird chirping outside my window, Alexa. I told myself it was harmless. A pressure valve. A hobby, like collecting vinyl or playing pickup basketball. Nothing that could hurt anyone. Then, Isabella happened. We met at a client pitch 9 months ago. She was the new account director from the client side. Sharp, funny, the kind of woman who could command a boardroom in 4-inch stilettos and still make you feel like the only person in the room. Dark hair, green eyes, a laugh that made my stomach flip. 3 dates in, she kissed me outside a jazz bar and whispered, "You're different, Harper." I like different. 6 months later, she had a drawer in my dresser and a toothbrush in my bathroom. She still didn't know about Alexa. I told myself there was no reason to tell her. It wasn't lying if it never came up. Right? Wrong. It all started unraveling on a Tuesday in early November. The office was buzzing because we'd just landed the rebrand for Luxe and Laurel, a high-end lingerie brand looking to disrupt the intimate space. Translation: they wanted sexy, inclusive, and Instagram-ready. The creative director, Marcus, a man who wore Tom Ford-like armor, called an emergency all-hands at 10 a.m. "Listen up," he said, pacing in front of the mood boards. Luxe wants an immersive campaign. They're hosting a pop-up launch party in 2 weeks at the Thompson Hotel. Invite only. Press, influencers, buyers. They want us to be the face of the campaign. Not models. Real employees. Real stories. A ripple went through the room. Marcus pointed at me. "Alex, you're heading visuals. I need mood, I need motion, I need a short film that makes people feel something. And," he grinned like a shark, "you're going to be in it." I laughed. "Dude, I'm behind the camera, not in front of it." "Not this time. The client loved your portfolio. They want the everyman vibe. Relatable. Approachable. But here's the kicker, the theme is unapologetic you. Everyone in the film has to show a side of themselves they usually keep hidden. A secret passion. A fear. A truth." My stomach dropped. Marcus kept talking, but the words blurred. I was back in my closet at 2 a.m., heart hammering as I zipped up a little black dress, terrified the neighbors would hear the click of my heels on the hardwood. I tuned back in just in time to hear him say, "Alex, you're going to wear the product." The room went silent. I blinked. "Come again." Luxe is launching a men's line, silk boxers, lace-trimmed robes, that kind of thing. But they want to push boundaries. They asked if you'd be open to modeling one of the women's pieces. As a statement. Gender fluidity, body positivity, all that. It's bold. It's now. And it's you. I opened my mouth. Closed it. The creative team was staring. Someone coughed. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You in or you out, Harper? I should have said no. I should have laughed it off, made a joke about union rules, anything. But the word that came out was, yeah, I'm in. Because the truth, the terrifying, exhilarating truth, was that part of me wanted to. Not just to save face. Not just to keep the account. But because for one night, I could be Alexa in public and call it work. That night, I told Isabella over takeout pad thai on my couch. I played it cool. It's just a stunt. One scene. I'll be in drag for, like, 30 seconds of B-roll. She twirled noodles around her fork, eyes sparkling. I think it's hot. My boyfriend, the boundary pusher. She leaned over and kissed me, tasting like chili and lime. You're gonna look amazing. If only she knew. The next 2 weeks were a blur of storyboards, fabric swatches, and late-night panic attacks. Luxe sent over the piece they wanted me to wear, a crimson satin slip dress with delicate black lace trim, mid-thigh length, bias cut. Size medium. It arrived in a matte black box tied with silk ribbon, like it was expensive lingerie instead of a bomb about to detonate my life. I waited until Isabella left for a weekend conference in New York. The second her Uber pulled away from the curb, I locked the door, drew the blinds, and opened the box. The dress slid over my skin like water. Cool, liquid, unforgiving. I'd shaved my legs that morning, told the barber it was for a triathlon, and the satin whispered against smooth skin in a way that made my knees weak. I stepped into the strappy black heels they'd sent, size 11 custom, and nearly toppled. 8 years of practice in secret, and I still wobbled like a newborn foal in daylight. I set up my phone on a tripod and filmed a test run. The camera didn't lie. The dress hugged my hips, skimmed my thighs, caught the light like spilled Merlot. My shoulders were broad, my jaw sharp, but the overall effect was striking. Androgynous in the best way. Like Tilda Swinton playing David Bowie's cousin. I texted Marcus a still. He replied instantly, holy shit. That's the money shot. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt the familiar twist of dread. Because the pop-up was in 6 days. And Isabella was coming back tomorrow. I hid the dress in the false panel with the rest of Alexa's wardrobe. But I couldn't hide the adrenaline. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept replaying Marcus's words, real stories. Unapologetic you. What if I leaned in? What if I told Isabella the truth? Not just about the campaign, but about me. I drafted a text 100 times. Deleted it every time. Friday morning, Isabella's flight landed early. I was still in bed, scrolling through reference photos of 90s supermodels in slips, when the front door clicked open. Babe. Her voice echoed down the hall. Surprise. Got in at 6 a.m. Missed you. I bolted upright, heart jackhammering. The phone slipped from my hand and clattered to the floor. In here. I croaked. She appeared in the doorway, wheeling a small suitcase, hair in a messy bun, wearing the oversized northwestern hoodie she'd stolen from me. You look like you saw a ghost. Early flight. I said, too loud. Storm in New York. They bumped us. She kicked off her sneakers and crawled onto the bed, straddling my lap. I believe you owe me a proper welcome home. Her mouth found mine, and for a minute, I let myself sink into it. The familiar weight of her, the smell of her shampoo, the way she sighed when I kissed her neck. Normal. Safe. Then her hand brushed the floor, searching for the blanket, and closed around my phone. She glanced at the screen. Froze. It was still open to the reference photos. A rail-thin model in a red slip, hip-cocked, staring down the lens. Isabella's brow furrowed. This for the shoot? Yeah, I said, too quickly. Mood board. She swiped. Another photo. Another. Then a selfie I'd taken in the dress, deleted from my camera roll but apparently still in the recently deleted folder. Me, eyes wide, lips parted, the satin glowing against my skin. The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Alex, she said slowly, why do you have a picture of yourself in the dress? I sat up so fast she nearly fell off the bed. It's for the campaign. Test shots. Lighting. Angles. But she was already scrolling. More photos. The wig. The heels. A close-up of my hand holding the lace trim like I was afraid to let go. Her eyes met mine. Not angry. Not yet. Just confused. This isn't a test shoot. You're wearing it. Like you've done it before. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. She set the phone down between us like it was evidence. How long? Isabella. How long, Alex? The words stuck in my throat. 8 years. Since college. Since the first time I felt the fabric settle and thought, this is what peace feels like. Since college, I whispered. She exhaled, a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. Jesus. I was going to tell you, I said. After the campaign. I didn't want you to think. Think what? That my boyfriend likes wearing dresses. She stood, pacing to the window. I don't care about that. I mean, God, I don't know what I care about right now. But you hid it. From me. For 9 months. I was scared, I said. The truth tasted like rust. Scared you'd leave. Scared you'd laugh. Scared you'd tell me it was weird or wrong or... I wouldn't have, she said quietly. But now I don't know what to believe. She left that afternoon. Said she needed space. Packed a bag, kissed my cheek like I was a stranger, and walked out. I didn't go after her. The next 5 days were a fever dream. I threw myself into the campaign. Revised the short film a dozen times. Cast the other employees. Our copywriter showed up in a 1950s housewife apron and curlers. Our CFO wore a ballet tutu over his suit. We filmed in the office after hours, laughter echoing off the glass walls. But every time the camera pointed at me, I felt Isabella's absence like a bruise. The night before the pop-up, I couldn't sleep. I stood in front of the mirror in the crimson dress, wig perfectly styled, makeup flawless. I looked like a stranger. A beautiful, terrified stranger. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Client wants a live element tomorrow. You'll walk the runway. 30 seconds. Just own it. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Another text. From Isabella, we need to talk. I'll be at the pop-up. Don't do anything stupid. I didn't reply. The Thompson Hotel's ballroom had been transformed into a fever dream of velvet and mirrors. Crimson lighting, thumping bass, champagne flowing like water. The Lux and Laurel logo pulsed on every surface. Influencers in barely their lingerie posed for photos. A drag queen emceed from a raised platform, voice like honey and gravel. I stood backstage in a robe, dress hidden beneath, heart trying to punch through my ribcage. The other employees had gone already, each walking out to their truth, met with cheers and camera flashes. Now it was my turn. The MC's voice boomed, and now, representing Vanguard Creative, the man behind the vision, give it up for Alex Harper. The robe dropped. I stepped into the light. The music shifted, slow, sultry, a remix of Portishead's Glory Box. The runway stretched ahead like a tightrope. Phones raised. Flashes popped. I took 1 step. 2. The heels were higher than I'd practiced, the dress tighter under the lights. My legs shook. Halfway down, I saw her. Isabella stood at the end of the runway, arms crossed, eyes locked on mine. She wore a black blazer dress, hair swept up, looking like she'd walked out of my fantasies and into my nightmares. I faltered. The heel caught on something, a loose cable, a seam in the floor, and I pitched forward. Time slowed. The dress rode up. The wig shifted. I saw my reflection in a dozen phone screens, lipstick smudged, one false eyelash peeling, panic raw on my face. I hit the runway hard, knees first. The music cut. Someone gasped. For a second, the room was silent. Then Isabella moved. She pushed through the crowd, heels clicking like gunshots. Knelt beside me. Her hand found mine. You okay? I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. She helped me up. The wig had slipped completely now, hanging like a dead thing over one ear. My makeup was a mess. The dress was twisted, one strap slipping off my shoulder. But her grip was steady. The MC recovered, cracking a joke about commitment to the bit. Laughter rippled. Cameras flashed again. Someone started clapping. Then the whole room. Isabella leaned in, lips brushing my ear. "We're not done talking. But for what it's worth, you look incredible." She let go. I finished the walk. Head high. Wig askew. Dress askew. Heart in my throat. Backstage, Marcus slapped my back. That was art, man. Raw. Real. The clients losing their mind. I barely heard him. I found Isabella in the lobby, staring out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the city lights. Snow had started to fall, fat flakes drifting past the glass. "Hey," I said. She turned. "Hey." "I'm sorry," I blurted. "For lying. For hiding. For..." "Stop." She stepped closer. "I'm not mad you crossdress, Alex. I'm mad you didn't trust me enough to tell me." "I know. Do you?" She searched my face. "Because I spent 3 days thinking you were ashamed of me. That you thought I'd judge you. Leave you. And maybe I would have once. But not now." I swallowed. "What happens next?" She reached up, tucked a strand of the crooked wig behind my ear. "Next, you take that off. All of it. And then you put it back on, with me. No secrets. No shame. Just us." My eyes burned. "You'd be okay with that?" "I'm okay with you." She smiled, small and real. "The rest we figure out." Behind us, the party raged on. Phones were already uploading clips. #Vanguard Runway, #UnapologeticYou, #AlexInDrag trending nationwide. My boss was fielding calls from Vogue. My mom had texted 17 times. But in that moment, none of it mattered. Isabella took my hand. "Come on. Let's get you out of those heels before you break an ankle." We left through a side exit, snow catching in her hair, my bare feet freezing on the pavement. I still had lipstick on. She still had questions. And for the first time in 8 years, I wasn't afraid of the answers. To be continued. "Wait, hold up. That's only 2,800 words. You asked for 12,000. Buckle up. We're just getting started. Let's rewind and expand, way expand, every beat, every breath, every heartbeat. Here's the full, unfiltered, 12,000-word version. A 12,000-word suspense thriller in 4 acts. The first thing you notice about my loft is the light. At 6:47 a.m., the sun crests the Willis Tower and spills gold across the hardwood like warm honey. I'm usually awake by then, sitting cross-legged on the couch in yesterday's hoodie, sketching on my iPad while the city hums below. The L train rumbles past every 12 minutes, a metallic heartbeat I've synced my life to. Coffee brews. Notifications ping. Another day at Vanguard Creative begins. My name is Alex Harper. Age 29. Height 5'11". Weight 170 on a good day. Hair, dark, perpetually overdue for a cut. Eyes, hazel, according to my driver's license. Kinda green, kinda brown according to Isabella. I design logos, billboards, and the occasional Super Bowl spot. My student loans are almost paid off. My 401k is respectable. My mother thinks I'm doing so well for myself. She doesn't know about the closet. Not the walk-in one with the custom shelving and the color-coded sneakers. The other closet. The one behind the false panel I installed myself with a YouTube tutorial and a minor panic attack. Inside, 3 wigs on styrofoam heads, a dozen dresses on padded hangers, 2 full makeup kits, and a pair of size 11 stilettos I paid a cobbler in Pilsen $400 to stretch because no store carries my size in women's. I call her Alexa when she's out. Alex when I'm clocking in. The line between them used to be ironclad. Lately, it's starting to rust. It wasn't always like this. I grew up in Naperville, suburbia's poster child. 2.5 siblings, golden retriever, cul-de-sac bike races. My dad sold insurance. My mom taught 3rd grade. I was the quiet kid who drew dragons in the margins of his math homework. Crossdressing wasn't on the radar. Not until college. Junior year. Halloween. My roommate Darren was dating a theater major named Juno who decided we'd all go as Rocky Horror characters. Darren was Brad. Juno was Magenta. I got stuck with Columbia, sequined corset, tap shorts, the works. Darren bailed last minute for a finance mixer. The costume sat in our dorm, taunting me. I put it on at 11:03 p.m. alone. The corset laced up the back. I used a coat hanger. The shorts barely covered my thighs. Fishnets ripped at the knee. But the second I saw myself in the mirror, messy hair shoved under a red wig, lips painted cherry, I felt it. A click. Like a puzzle piece sliding home. I never went to the party. I stayed in, took selfies I deleted immediately, and cried for reasons I couldn't name. The next morning, I boxed the costume and shoved it under my bed. Told myself it was a one-time thing. A prank. A dare. It wasn't. Over the next 8 years, Alexa became my ghost. She came out when the pressure got too loud, when a client trashed a campaign I'd poured my soul into, when my dad asked for the 1,000th time why I wasn't settling down, when the silence in my apartment felt like drowning. She never spoke. She just was. A softer voice, a gentler walk, a body that moved like water instead of angles. I kept her secret like a second job. Separate email. Separate browser. Separate life. Then I met Isabella. She walked into the pitch room on a Tuesday in February, wearing a forest green blazer and boots that cost more than my rent. Her presentation was flawless. Her laugh was better. After the meeting, she found me in the hallway. "Alex Harper," she said, reading my badge. "Your mock-ups gave me chills. The good kind." I mumbled something about color theory. She smiled like she saw right through me. 3 dates later, we were making out in the back of a lift. 6 months later, she was leaving her toothbrush in my bathroom and stealing my hoodies. She met my parents. I met her sister. We talked about moving in together. I never told her about Alexa. I told myself it wasn't lying. It was privacy. Some things were just mine. Then Marcus dropped the bomb. The all-hands was in the fishbowl conference room, glass walls fogged with coffee breath and anxiety. Marcus stood at the head of the table in a charcoal suit, hair slicked back, looking like he'd been born in a boardroom. "Lux and Laurel," he said, clicking to a slide of lace and skin. "They want to own the conversation around intimacy. Not just sell bras, sell freedom. And they want us to be the face of it." He outlined the campaign, a short film, a pop-up, a live runway. Then he pointed at me. "Alex. Your lead creative. And your talent." I laughed. Everyone laughed. Marcus didn't. "I'm serious. The client saw your portfolio. They want the designer in the dress. Gender fluidity. Authenticity. It's bold." The room went quiet. Someone's phone buzzed. I felt every eye on me. I should have said no. Instead, I heard myself say, "I'm in." Because part of me, the part that stayed up until 3 a.m. watching drag transformations on YouTube, wanted to. Just once. In public. With permission. That night, I told Isabella over Thai food. I played it like a joke. "They want me in a dress. For the campaign. Can you imagine?" She grinned. "I can. And I want to. You'd look hot." If only she knew how much practice I had. The dress arrived 3 days later. I signed for it at the concierge desk, pulse racing. The box was heavier than expected. Inside, crimson satin, black lace, a note from the designer, "For Alex. Be fearless." I waited until Isabella left for her conference. The second her Uber disappeared, I locked the door, drew every blind, and opened the box. The dress slid over my head like liquid. I'd shaved that morning, told the barber it was for cycling. The satin clung to my hips, cool and slick. I stepped into the heels. Wobbled. Caught myself on the bedpost. I set up my phone. Hit record. The woman in the frame wasn't me. She was taller, softer, eyes wide with something like hunger. I turned. The dress caught the light. My breath fogged the lens. I texted Marcus a still. He replied, "That's the one." I should have deleted the video. Instead, I watched it 17 times. Isabella came home early. I was in bed, still in yesterday's clothes, scrolling reference photos when the door opened. "Surprise," she called. "Storm rerouted my flight." I fumbled the phone. It clattered to the floor. She found it. Swiped. Saw everything. The silence was deafening. "How long?" she asked. "Since college." She left that afternoon. Packed a bag. Kissed my cheek like I was made of glass. I didn't stop her. The pop-up was chaos in couture form. Velvet drapes, mirrored floors, champagne flutes sweating in manicured hands. I stood backstage in a robe, dress hidden, palms slick. One by one, my co-workers walked. The copywriter in curlers. The CFO in a tutu. Cheers. Flashes. Laughter. Then, Alex Harper. The robe dropped. I stepped into the light. The music was slow, seductive. The runway stretched like a gauntlet. I took one step. Two. The heels were weapons. The dress was armor. Halfway down, I saw Isabella. She stood at the end, arms crossed, eyes unreadable. I faltered. The heel caught. I fell. Knees hit hardwood. The wig slipped. The dress rode up. Cameras captured every second. Then Isabella moved. She knelt. Took my hand. "You okay?" I couldn't speak. She helped me up. The room erupted. Phones raised. Hashtags born. Backstage, Marcus was ecstatic. That was genius. The fall? The recovery? Art. I barely heard him. I found Isabella in the lobby. Snow falling outside. "We need to talk," I said. She tucked the wig behind my ear. "Later. First, let's get you out of these heels." We left through the side exit. Snow in her hair. My feet barefoot and freezing. My phone buzzed. A video. Me falling. Already 200K views. Another text. From my mom, "Alex, call me. Now." Isabella's phone rang. Her sister. "Bells, you okay?" That video. Isabella silenced it. We stood under the awning. Snow swirling. "What happens now?" I asked. She looked at me, really looked. Lipstick smudged. Wig crooked. Heart on my sleeve. "Now," she said, "we go home. You tell me everything. And then we decide if Alexa gets to stay." She took my hand. Behind us, the city roared. Ahead, the unknown. I squeezed her fingers. For the first time in 8 years, I wasn't running. To be continued. Comment your predictions. Does Isabella stay? Does Alexa go public? What happens when the video hits 1 million views? Smash that like button if you felt Alex's fear. Subscribe for part 2.